Okay, so what we need to talk about now is setting up an experiment. Okay, our learning target will usually lead us to a question. Our learning target is, I will be able to describe the connection between the motions of particles and kinetic energy. Remember, kinetic energy is the energy of motion. You guys probably remember that from elementary school, when a teacher might have balanced something, said, oh look, it's got potential, now it's got kinetic. You're going to take that, and we're going to do an experiment to see just what happens when we increase the kinetic energy or decrease the kinetic energy of a gas. Okay, so first things first, we need our question. Okay, well, I just kind of gave it to you, didn't I? I said, what happens when you heat or cool a gas? All right, what happens when you heat or cool a gas? Okay, so that's a question, but can we test a question just with a question? Probably not. We, at this point, need to convert it into a hypothesis. Okay, so a hypothesis for this, let's write H for hypothesis, has to include a couple things. You guys might remember, it's what's known as an if something, then something. Okay? An if-then statement. And then we have to have a reason. So we have to say because, we have to have a guess about why we think what's going to happen is going to happen. This hypothesis always comes before we do the actual experiment. It's what leads it. Okay, so if I do this, well, if I say the word I'm doing something, that means I'm manipulating something, I'm changing something. So in our situation, that would be our manipulated variable, MV. Then this happened. Well, that's going to be our responding variable. You guys probably heard this before, 6th grade, before that, but we're really going to start working on this when we do experiments. If this happens, then this happens. These are our variables. And when we have these variables and we get, like, say, numbers or information from this, it's really easy to turn it into a graph. Okay, now because, well, that's up to you, right? Why do you think it's going to happen? All right, so let's take this. It's Mr. McLeod here. I'm sorry I'm not here to set up the lab for you or tell you really how to do things, so it's up to you to follow along with what I'm doing here and to write a list of procedures for this lab. Okay, that's going to include a data table. That's going to include a list of steps, one by one, step by step procedure for doing it. I'll walk you through the basics. First of all, like anything else, we need goggles. Hot water splashed in the eye, not very pleasant. Okay, and we're going to have a container. Yours is going to be a bit smaller than this, but we're going to have a container that is full of our favorite thing, air, right? The purpose of this lab is to figure out what happens to air when it's heated and cooled. We might already know the answer to that, but the point is, at some point along the road here, we're going to look at what the molecules are doing inside of here, right? Because once again, like I said before, in 8th grade, we focus on the little tiny things that are happening, which is why we've been doing chemistry and everything up to this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip a balloon over the top of my bottle. This bottle's a little wider. Your guys' will be a bit smaller. Okay. Okay. Bottle. Check. Okay. Then, once I make sure, like I said, safety glasses are on, bottle's good, I have a container of very hot water. More than likely, though, your hot water is going to be in a styrofoam container. Okay, now this water is cold because I don't want you guys to see what's going to happen until you do it yourself. So I'm going to set this in here, and we're going to wait for a certain amount of time. That's something for you to decide, right? You might think, okay, 1 minute's good enough, or 2 minutes good enough. Once again, that's going to be in that list of procedures. Okay, we'll observe what happens. We'll write down our results, okay? And then take it out and do the same thing in the other one. Put it in cold water. This water will have ice in it. It'll be very cold. And once again, we'll wait for about a minute, and we're going to basically observe what happens to air when we change its temperature, okay? As part of it, after observing what you just saw, you're going to need to record this in your journal. Remember, it goes on the input side. You guys, those of you who don't remember, the input side is the left side of the journal, the things I tell you. Okay, you're going to make a 1, 2, 3, 4, and just keep writing numbers for how many steps you think you're going to need for this experiment. Now, the importance is that you be very, very specific. Okay, so I'll give you my first step. My first step was get a beaker. Okay, and my second step was place balloon over beaker. Okay, and you guys don't have to do this, but I like to draw pictures of what I'm doing. Okay, so we'll just draw a little beaker, and we'll draw a balloon here. So just in case I just want to glance at it from a distance, I don't have to read everything. I at least know what it is I'm doing. And this would just keep going down all the way till we get to the end of the experiment. Step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7. Now, we're missing something. We have a list of things that we want to test, but what we don't have is we don't have a place to put it. So inside of your journal, okay, this is now going to be on your output side, so just flip to the other side of your journal. That's the right-hand side. You're going to make a table. Okay. And when we do this experiment, just like anything else, we're going to want to do it more than once. So we'll have trial 1, trial 2, maybe trial 3. Okay. And make a table, split it in half, and I'll say, okay, the first time I switch from hot to cold, I want to leave lots of room because you're going to have to write some words in here, right? You have to write what you saw happen on each side of this. Okay? And you'll do it again, and a third time. Okay, I think 3 times is a little overkill, but it's fine. We can do that. All right, and with these steps in this table, you should have more than enough to get started on this lab. Like I said, we're not going to be doing the lab today. What will happen is when you come back, we'll have everything set up on Monday where we can just walk through this lab really quickly. All right.